Alrighty, let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Kurt Leavins. Welcome, Kurt.
Hey, David. Beautiful, smoking hot August day. No time like the present to talk hockey.
It was 30 degrees here. It's 30 degrees all week here, Kurt. It's getting hot.
30 degrees out here by the ocean as well, which is unusual. So yeah, we're getting it in a big way. Summer's trying to hang on.
Everybody's got their fans running. Like, I don't know if most Edmontonians have air conditioning or not, but we don't. And we just got the fans running. And because it hardly ever gets this hot, like,
yeah,
1 week a year. This is the first time all summer it's been above 30 in Edmonton. So we've had a pretty cold, wet summer, actually. So this is nice.
Yeah, this is the first real heat we've had. We've had a fairly nice summer, but this is really the first real hot weather we've had. So we haven't suffered too badly.
Kurt, it is summertime. So we are going to be talking about wintertime. We're going to be talking about Oilers prospects. And something that really captured the imagination of readers. A writer named Shadon, I don't know his last name and I couldn't find it on the internet, but he writes for the Oil Rig and he's on the TundraCast. He put out a thing offering, here's my 3 or 4 hot takes on the Oilers and share me your own hot takes and if you have any with other teams. And it was really popular on the internet and I did a summary post on it and man, people, they loved reading that. They got a kick out of it. So people, their eyes are huge for this coming season, Kurt, in terms of optimism for their own team, and we'll get into that in a second. But first, we'll get into Oiler prospects. And Corey Pronman, who has been writing about prospects now, man, he was, I remember when he started out, it was like a decade ago, maybe even more than that, and just doing it on his own. And now he's got a job with The Athletic. He does a really good job, him and Scott Wheeler. Stephen Ellis for the Daily Faceoff is another guy who really digs into it, does a great job. So Pronman was rating the farm systems of all NHL teams, and he ranks the Oilers, their prospects, not their farm systems, their entirety of their prospects. And he ranks the Oilers 31 out of 32 teams for prospects. So if prospects meant everything, we'd be pretty depressed right now. But through the decade of darkness, we were probably in the top 5 or 10 most of the time for prospects because we had all those high draft picks, the Oilers did. And that's what put you at the top of that list. Almost all of the bottom teams, well, I'll just read you out the bottom teams in order, according to Corey Pronman, for having the worst prospects in the NHL. The order of the bottom teams is Winnipeg, Toronto, Ottawa, Tampa Bay, Florida, Vegas, the Oilers, and Colorado.
So all the good teams.
So pretty much everybody but Carolina. And I don't know where Carolina lines up yet. But yeah, it's because the obvious thing, they don't draft high. And they're trading away all their first round picks every year to other teams so they can compete in the playoffs. And someone made a good point. When I posted this, they said, what does this matter anyway? Like, you don't even, with the team the Oilers have now, you can pick up 3rd and 4th line guys like Curtis Lazar and Podkolzin for $1 million. You don't really need to develop your own prospects and to compete for the Stanley Cup. And there's a lot of truth to that. Like that's a real fair comment. When you're in your Stanley Cup window, you've got to be trading the first pick every year now to bring in a good player, almost every year at least, to bring in a good player to help you win the Cup. That's the standard. That's what most teams do in Cup contention, especially if you're really in Cup contention like the Oilers have been. So, and you can fill in with veterans. That said, Kurt, man, what a boost to a team. Like if you're Toronto and you draft a Matthew Nyes, I think he was a 2nd round pick, and you get a quick developing player on a decent contract for a few years, that really provides a massive boost to your team. And the Oilers are in that position this year with hoping that either Isaac Howard or Matthew Savoy will step up into the top 6. I'm going to read you, I'll get you Corey Pronman's comment, and then I'll get your take on all this, Kurt. So here's what Pronman said. He said, the second to worst pipeline still has two legit prospects in Matthew Savoy and Isaac Howard, who should materially help the Oilers soon. The issue is that after them, there is next to nothing in this farm system. So what's your take on the whole issue of the importance of this and where the Oilers are at?
Well, first of all, I read Corey's article, and frankly, I think it's fair enough. I don't think he wildly mischaracterizes the health of the prospects for the Oilers. So I'll start with that. I mean, I think his take is reasonable enough. To state the obvious, this is the price of winning. Winning teams trade away prospects and draft picks to get established players to take runs at cups. So you can wear it as a badge of honor, Oilers fans. If this is truth, then it's because the Oilers have been winning, and they have been. They've been the second best team in the NHL 2 years running. I sort of buy what our reader said about finding $1 million players to play in the fourth line. Here's where I differ with that. Yeah, that's true, but generally what you get is exactly what you expect from those $1 million players. The difference is when you're bringing in players on ELCs, there's a way better chance of one of them developing and overperforming and turning into a real impact player as opposed to someone who's kind of plug and play. So I think that's the advantage of having prospects who can graduate. And, can Ike and can Matthew be one or two of those players this year? Well, the Oilers sure hope so on their ELCs this season. At the end of the day, I don't get too hepped up about it. It is the price of winning. I think you should wear it as a badge of honor. Although I will kind of come full circle in my comments and say, when you look at the list of prospects as you and I have been going through and rating them, it is on the thin side. There's no color in this goat orange. I'm going to post an article tonight on young Viljami Marjala, who will be number 12 on our prospect list. And if anybody can make a middle six AHL player sound exciting, it's me. So appointment reading at midnight tonight when that goes up at the Cult of Hockey. But honestly, when you have a prospect like that who's got some skill, but far from guaranteed to ever play an NHL game, and he's number 12 on your list, that does say something about your list.
Well, he ripped it up in the Finnish league last year. He was about a point per game player, mostly with assists. He's one of, and I saw him at the dev camp, Kurt, at development camp. He is a skilled hockey player.
He can dish it, right?
He's got unreal passing ability.
Yeah. But his goal scoring really fell by 50% playing against men. That's a bit concerning. And
he looks like an outside player. Like if he should almost like move back to defense. He's not that big is the problem, but like as a defensive quarterback, like that's what he kind of quarterbacks the play. He is a brilliant passer of the puck, and almost miscast as a forward because I don't see him as a kind of crash the net kind of guy. And so my guy that I wrote about was the exact opposite. If you could take these two players and combine both their assets, you'd have a superstar, Connor Clattenburg.
Yeah.
Who is variously listed at 6'2", 6'5", 6'4", which I've been finding with a lot of these prospects, Kurt, when you go through the various different scouting systems and
they magically gain or lose a couple inches and 10 pounds, don't they?
Yeah, they sure do. How quickly they gain inches. That's amazing. So I don't know, maybe they measure them when they're 17 and then they grow. Some kids do. Like they keep growing when they're 20, 21, 22, even some of them. So anyway, Connor Clattenburg was the opposite. And he's an interesting guy because he's quite highly rated. Bob Stauffer had him at 7, and so did Bruce Kurlock at 7 on their list. And they know a lot about prospects. So he's just a big, nasty, rugged guy. Imagine a 6'5" kind of Kelly Buchberger kind of player. That's the top end of that kind of player.
Yeah.
If he makes it.
Not sure he has anywhere close to the skill that Kelly had. I played junior hockey with Kelly, and he was a good hockey player. I'm not sure this guy, with all due respect, I hope the kid has a
Well,
great career, but
he had
I'm not sure they're the same player.
he had in his last season of junior, he had like something like 35 points in 46 games.
Yeah, but
So
he was a 19-year-old, right?
he was a 19-year-old.
Yeah,
But that's not bad. That's in major junior hockey, in the toughest major junior hockey league in the world, and he really came on and he did that. It's not often older players have big years,
yes.
and but he impressed people. And you look at his YouTube highlights, you see him deking out players and going up and down the ice with the puck. He's got some skill, and he's got real ferocity. Like he isn't like his picture on Hockey DB is hilarious. He's got a black eye.
He's got the
It's
shiner,
the
yeah.
best. It's the best. He looks like like honestly, he looks like every bully I ever knew in high school. In that hockey, he looks like he's right out of 1979, 1980, and ready to push me around.
Well, you know, it's
I
interesting
got a
when you
kick out of
look at,
it.
yeah, I agree with the photo. When you look at the prospects list, while I think it's a little short on tools, what I do like about some of the players that Stan Bowman and his group are bringing in, there's a lot of compete with all of these players. Even Marjala, who's not a big guy, I think he's 174 pounds. But you know, the book on him is he'll win board battles you don't expect him to win. He's got some game to him. And as you go up and down this prospect list, there's a lot of guys that have compete. And I know compete was an essential ingredient that Stan Bowman's new scouting staff was looking at, both pro and amateur side. It's okay to have that much sandpaper in your organization. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, it was interesting hearing. I think it's Rick Pracey is the guy, the chief scout now, and
Yeah,
how they kind of liked players who had some adversity and then fought through it.
mm,
They were kind of looking for that particular player, to draft that kind of player. Yeah, like a couple, like you wrote about David Lewandowski, and I wrote about
yeah,
Tommy Lafreniere, two, mid-round picks from the Western League, mid-round picks historically, like in the third round, you'll get one or two guys taken every year in the third round as a forward will make it as a top six forward in the NHL.
yeah.
So just usually, like in this century, in these 25 years, there's been 45 guys who have been drafted in the third round as forwards and has made it as top six forwards. So that's probably, it's about 20 guys a year taken times 20, like it's about 500 players and 45 of them. So it's about 1 in 10. So Lafreniere's taken in that range. It's interesting. His stats are just like Adam Henrique's in his last year. And I was watching video of him, quite a bit of video of him. And he reminded me a lot of Adam Henrique, a really smart player who goes hard to the net, is physical, with some skill, but not the highest level of skating or shooting and passing, but just below that. So he's an interesting player. William Nickel also made the news this week, Kurt. He is a draft pick who did really well this season, but he just had shoulder surgery, which is the bane of Oilers prospects: Clefbaum, Nugent Hopkins, Hall, Akey, Bo Akey. Anyway, he just had shoulder surgery. So this is a guy who was taken in the later rounds, but just really came on strongly for London in the OHL this year. And
Well, he had a good first half, right?
he did, and then apparently he got hurt and
Yeah,
didn't have such a good second half.
yeah,
Is that what you heard?
yeah.
That's what
That's
someone
what
was
I heard.
saying.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And the last bit of news that I have on the prospects is Maxim Berezhkin, who has been, so he's in the last few years, he's been rated 18th, 18th, 13th, 9th, and we have him at 3 this year, the highest he's ever been. It's because essentially the last 2 years in the KHL playoffs as a 22 and 23-year-old, he's been one of the best forwards in the KHL playoffs. He's a great big guy. And again,
6'4".
somewhere between 6'2" and 6'4".
Yeah, I've seen him listed 6'4".
Yeah. So there's two different spellings of his name as well. But there was an interview with him from the Russian media, and it was very interesting to read. Man, did he come off as a serious-minded I don't know if the media training is this in Russia, but he was so serious, like just dedicated to the team, dedicated to getting better, said everything correct. And it seemed um, like it was, maybe it's just the translation from the Russian, very formal way of speaking, but very serious and focused and directed, which was kind of encouraging. But he also said his dream is to be in the NHL, which was music to my ears, because you just never know with the Russian players. His coaches persuaded him, one coach in particular, that he needed another year. If he wanted to avoid playing in the AHL, he needed another year, at least in Russia, one more year. This is after being, in the top 50 scorers in the KHL, and again, a dominant playoff performer. He's a great big guy with apparently super soft hands who can really move the puck and win board battles. And that kind of reminded me of hearing about Dustin Penner, right? Like that's the kind of player Penner was. A smart two-way player. I don't know how physical Berezkin is. Penner wasn't particularly
No.
going out of his way to hit, but he was big and he protected the puck well.
Mm-hmm.
He was physical in his own way. Anyway, that could be a big signing for the Oilers at the end of this season, Berezkin.
Well, he's an interesting player. Whenever you can combine that kind of size with a certain amount of skill and certainly production against men in a good professional league, that's intriguing. So yeah, I guess I'll believe it when I see him on North American soil. but intriguing, yes. And then just shooting back a couple of names now, Lewandowski, he's actually the first prospect on our list that when I hit him, I thought, I can actually see this kid making the NHL. I think he'll be a fourth liner, but he's got a lot of the basic skills that, if he keeps working hard and keeps developing, I can see him being a useful bottom six player for this club. For the Russian kid, maybe he's got middle six talent, especially with that kind of size. So we'll have to see.
I remember watching, I think both Lafreniere and Clattenburg were at development camp, but if they played in the 3-on-3 game, I don't remember them. I remember Quinn Hudson was really good. Matt Savoy obviously was good. And Viljami Mariola was fantastic. I mean, he was just making all kinds of plays. Lewandowski was there, and he also stood out in a good way. He's a big, kind of strapping, again, it's such a long shot with any of these players, but like the NHL player, he kind of reminds me of, if he was to like the absolute utter ceiling, but in terms of just stylistically, I don't know if he's this good, but stylistically, he reminded me of Brandon Saad, kind of a somewhat physical player with some skill and good with the puck. And so that's his game. I agree, Kurt. He looked like, and a lot of people thought he was a better pick than Lafreniere. Like they had him rated over Tommy Lafreniere. Although all these guys, as you said, Clattenburg, Lafreniere, Lewandowski, they're all scrappy, aggressive hockey players. So
two other things about Lewandowski. One thing is his selection by the Oilers was higher than most people had him rated. So on the face of it, it certainly looked like a good pick. And a good friend and old associate of mine who sees every home game of the Saskatoon Blades saw every game this kid played this year and said, "Keep an eye on him, Kurt. He's going to be a good one." And this guy's got a pretty good eye for talent. So I'll store that away in my back pocket and see if it comes to fruition someday.
So are you saying in terms of his draft ratings, he was rated higher by like the scouting services than the Oilers got him at?
No, the Oilers chose him higher than he was rated.
The Oilers chose him.
So in other words, good pick.
Why do you say that's a good pick, though? Why would that be? Like, because they might have reached then. Like it might be a reach.
No, it's the opposite.
You think?
Yeah, no, it's totally. When you look at where everybody had him rated and where he eventually was picked, you'd consider it a good pick.
Okay.
Not everybody, but a majority of the people.
All right. Okay, I think we have covered the field in terms of the prospects. I've written about Nickel and Berezkin a little earlier than we intended because they were in the news. And we're going to be soon into the top 10. We have Viljami Marhala tonight. And then tomorrow night, Ira Cooper was generous enough with his time. He's a very busy guy in Calgary, to do a profile of Robbie Järventie. Now, Järventie is a very interesting prospect because he'd probably be in the NHL right now based on how he was trending if he hadn't had a couple serious knee injuries. And again, last year, he just played 2 games.
Yep.
But Ira saw those games. Ira watches Bakersfield, so we've asked him to write about a couple of guys who played a lot in Bakersfield.
Ira is a great source of Bakersfield players. He's really got an eye for that club. Yeah.
All things Bakersfield and all things CBA are his particular areas of expertise, although he's a sharp hockey guy on all areas.
He's forgotten more about the CBA than I'll ever know.
He knows enough about the CBA to know that it's not decipherable by anyone but a lawyer. I figured that out quickly trying to read through it. He was quite impressed with Järventie, and just in the 2 games that he played. So and apparently, I think someone was intimating, it might have been Ira himself, that this guy's healthy again and it will be good to go in training camp, ready to go, ready to play, and we'll see what happens. I mean, he's no longer on his ELC, so if they send him down, he'd have to go through waivers.
Right.
There's no injury exemption, is there, if you miss the whole year? I don't think there is. I'm not sure about that. I'm
not sure on this player.
Let me just check. It's on Cap Friendly. I don't think there is anything like that. Seems kind of unfair. You have a prospect on an ELC, then he gets injured, misses the whole year, and then he's off his ELC. Like, that's hard for the team.
Yeah.
But it might be good for the prospect.
Yeah. I was just going back to Corey's ratings, and one thing that I was going to mention, but I forgot in the time. I think he has a lower age cutoff than we do for our prospects. Does he not? Didn't he cut it off at 22?
I think so. That's fair. That's why he didn't have Berezhkin.
Yeah.
And some Josh Shemansky, who's
a few
German
others,
player.
right? So honestly, the farm system's in a little better shape than Corey says it is, but because he's measuring it slightly different. But I still think Corey had a reasonably fair view of it. So
yeah, I mean, when I looked at the list, being an Oilers homer, I thought because they have Savoy and Howard, I didn't see, like in the other bottom teams, I didn't see prospects that I thought were as good as those 2 guys. But I mean, Corey's watched. I just had to pull back, and Corey has watched all these players. He knows all. I don't. So that's why I accept what he has to say. He knows far more about these players than almost anyone outside the NHL. There's a handful of people outside the NHL. You know, there'd be teams in the scout for the WHL and the OHL, and they would know a ton as well about these players. And now the U.S. colleges know a ton about all these players because they're trying to recruit all of them. But he's right up there in terms of knowledge. So I take I don't have a problem with his ratings either. But the bottom line for me is this, Kurt. Like, if you can get that home run, like Howard or Savoy in your top 6, if one of those guys sticks in your top 6 this year, your farm system has hit a home run.
Yeah.
Like, you have done great. Yeah. So that's what we need to see, or hope to see at least, is that. And going back to the benefit of prospects, we would have had that this year with Dylan Holloway if he had signed again for a reasonable amount in Edmonton and not gotten offer sheeted. We would have had a player on 1 or 2 years on a really good contract who was a extremely high performing player. So that speaks to how valuable draft picks can be, obviously, if you can manage to hold on to them, which didn't happen.
Holloway's he's soon going to be a $7-8 million player, right?
He is.
Yeah.
They would have the thing that bought the only thing, like, I don't think the Oilers could have afforded Holloway, but if they had been able to sign him to a 1 or 2 year deal, they would have had this year with him, and this year he might have made a difference in the playoffs. And if he had signed, let's say a 2-year deal at 1.5, they had been able to get him on something like that, or 1.7. That would have been huge for the Oilers. And that's the real loss in that deal, is what happened this year and what's going to happen this coming year, is that they've missed out on those 2 years of the player. After that, unlikely they would have been able to keep him. But if they had been able to keep him this long, that would have been great. Now they might have, and he would have been an RFA, so they could have traded him maybe too at the end of it if they couldn't keep him. So it wasn't a great moment. It's my
Well,
bottom line.
as you know, I'm a believer in Dylan Holloway's talent. I'll believe fully in him when I see him stay healthy because he hasn't done it his entire professional career. I hope he does. I wish the kid success, but to me, that's the big question mark surrounding him.
Well, I think I heard him being interviewed, and he said like his wrist is so bad it's permanently bent or something. Like
Yeah.
that didn't sound good. And I don't know where he got injured this time. I don't think it was the wrist, was it? But I'm not sure.
You know,
The
you know,
scaphoid bone.
he's one of those guys. You like how rambunctious those guys play. Like we like that about Taylor Hall when he first came up as well too. But those guys get hurt, right? It's the price of being that player type. So.
Yeah, and Hall. I mean, his career, he's been on 7 NHL teams now, right? And he's had a couple really good years. But other than that, he's bumped around a lot and never become the player everyone hoped he would be. So,
and
and
pretty much
a lot of it
permanently
probably
injured now.
is
So
injury.
yeah.
Yeah. Hot takes, Kurt. So I'll start out reading a few that we've had, and you can comment on them. We can comment on them, and then we'll go to you've got a few cooked up, and
I got a few.
Okay, here's what Shadon. Since Shadon thought this up, we'll start with his, and we'll do all of them because he give him credit for this fun idea. His hot takes: McDavid finally shoots again, scores 45 plus goals. Podkolzin and Mangiapane combined for 65 plus points. Edmonton adds a top 6 forward, Rust, ? And a tandem goalie, Boissois, ? And his fourth hot take, they beat Florida in 7 for the Cup. Which one do you most agree with or most disagree with, Kurt? Does any of those stand out as?
Yeah. I'd sure be happy if Podkolzin and Mangiapane hit that point total. I'm not sure they will, but that would, the Oilers will have a great year if those players do achieve that.
Well, he's saying they're combining for 65 points.
I know.
So Podkolzin would have to get, let's say, 30 and Mangiapane 35. They're not going to get power play time. So I agree, Kurt. Like if they can get that will be good.
Yeah, for sure.
That'll do.
I'm not sure they will. So I guess I doubt his hot take, but it's a very good sign for the Oilers if it comes to pass. So here's hoping he's right.
Here's one from Oilers fan Zach at Oil73 on Twitter X. His first hot take: McDavid, Hyman, Draisaitl all finish with 50 plus goals. Stu Skinner rebounds significantly and is in the Vezina conversation. So half the hot takes involving Stu Skinner were like he's out of the league by October, and the other half is he kills it and wins the Vezina. Both are theoretically possible, unlikely, but it's going to be somewhere in the middle. I think I'm just hoping it's on the right side. But what do you think about the 50 goals for Draisaitl, Hyman, and McDavid?
I think it's entirely possible for Leon Draisaitl to hit 50 goals again. 50 goals is hard to score, man, especially with all the attention that Connor McDavid gets. He certainly has the talent to do it. There's no question about that. Zach Hyman, I respect Zach Hyman like nobody's business, but I'm not sure at his age and with the miles he has that he's a 50-goal scorer anymore.
No way.
I just don't think so. And he can play on my team any day, just to be clear. But I don't think he's going to score 50 this year.
If he's healed and he's on the power play, he could easily get 30. He could get 30
35 even, right? So
35, but I think that's
yeah.
And we're back. Technological geniuses, Kurt. That's what we are. Not. Maybe you are, not me. Anyway, we're back. Ongoing. I don't know why this happens, but we'll try to figure it out. Probably something at my end, undoubtedly. Kurt, we were just talking about a hot take about Noah Phillips scoring 15 goals this year. What do you think?
Yeah, that relates directly to one of my hot takes, which is Curtis Lazar will play more NHL games than any other Oilers foresee this year. I don't think there's a chance that Noah Phillips scores 15 goals. I'm not sure if he'll score 5.
Whew. I think Phillips should have played. I think was a better player last year, but come playoff time than Matthias Janmark and would have helped the Oilers more. He impressed the heck out of me in the regular season as a two-way hockey player. He's, I think, 27 years old now. He's had a couple good years in the minors. I think he's good to go. And he might be Lazar might be the center, but his winger might be Phil. He's a smart two-way hockey player, a big guy, and if he adds a little bit more physicality to his game, I think he could really help the Oilers. He can kill penalties. So I don't think he's going to score 15 goals, but he could score 8 to 10. So as a fourth line player,
we'll see. I'm calling a 0 on that one. We'll see how it turns out.
Fair enough, Kurt. You realist, you.
So you asked me to prepare some hot takes. Should I lay some of these on you?
Let's share. You do one, and then I'll do one because we've both done 3. But you go ahead.
Excellent.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I've already given you the Curtis Lazar one. Trent Frederick will score 20 goals and have over 80 minutes in penalties.
Woo! Oh, Kurt. I just called you a realist. Now you're making me look. You're
recency bias, David. Recency bias. He just missed scoring 20 goals 2 years in a row and had over 60 minutes in penalties. I don't think it's a stretch.
You think he's going to be a top 6 forward, essentially?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe because I don't see him on the power play unless I'm mistaken. Like I see Hyman definitely being the bumper guy, and I don't see him taking Nuge's spot. So 20 even strength goals. Hey, I like the cut of your jib, Kurt. I like your optimism. Yeah. What is a jib? Is that something on a sale? The cut of a jib? It
is, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I appreciate that kind of optimism, Kurt. And I'm equally optimistic about Noah Philp in his own way. Listen, he could have a season as an NHL player. When you look at his stats, Trent Frederick's stats, and you look at how they rise, and he will have probably one season in his entire NHL career if he comes back from his injury as expected. He will have probably one season when he gets 20 goals. I would not be surprised at all. He could be the Pat Maroon of the Oilers this year. Winning a job in the top 6 and doing a heck of a job of it. I didn't see that player in the playoffs, but that doesn't mean anything because he was injured.
And he scored 17 and 18 goals for the Bruins without being a top 6 player there. So I don't see what the stretch is.
I like it's a good hot take. That's a hot one.
You'll take my negativity from Noah Philp and add it to Trent Frederick, right?
Okay, my first hot take is Darnell Nurse will be the story of the 2026 playoffs, but in a good way this time. And there was a lot of skepticism, Kurt, about that when I wrote about that. And put it out online as well. People just he's 30. He's played his best hockey. He's past it. He's never going to get it together in the playoffs. All of this is completely fair comment. Defensemen usually don't improve over the age of 30. My point is this. In the regular season, Darnell Nurse doesn't have to improve on that. He just has to transfer that. He doesn't have to get any better. Darnell Nurse was a really good hockey player at even strength last year in the regular season. He was physical enough. He moved the puck well enough. He defended well enough. He did everything at a fairly high level. He skates with it. He was making good decisions. He wasn't getting caught on the pinch. He wasn't having a lot of turnovers. He was just solid in a way he had yet to reach as an NHLer, but he reached it last season. He was really good in the regular season. So all I'm wanting to see is that in the playoffs. I think it's completely doable. And I think it's a matter of him sorting out his expectations for himself come playoff time and what he's got to do and just doing his job. Alrighty, Kurt, what's your next hot take?
Related to defenseman, you just finished up with Darnell Nurse. Jake Wallman will go 10, 40, 50 this season.
Okay. Power play time then?
Second unit power play.
With Ekholm or Nurse?
I don't think it matters because it'll be him and one of the other guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
It should be. it should be him, and depends if Ekholm's healthy or not. Like if it's the old
Yeah.
Ekholm, yeah, Ekholm. If it's not, then Nurse.
I'd still go, yeah. And the other thing, and I mentioned this on a column about a week or so ago, in terms of just giving the power play some different wrinkles and some different looks, every so often halfway through the power play, leave Draisaitl and McDavid and Bouchard out there, but take Nugent Hopkins off and put Wallman on and go with 2-point, one left shot, one right shot. Just a slightly different look, right?
He is a really good offensive hockey player, really smart.
Yep.
And can really move the puck, and he's got a great shot. So I agree. That's not a bad idea. Now, of course, he's in a contract year, so maybe you want to sign him before you put him on the power play.
I think he'll be signed before we get to training camp.
Sounds like Bob Stauffer was praising Podkolzin today, which I took as a signal that perhaps he has a contract right now in his back pocket. But,
probably safe to assume.
Yes, that's what I thought. Reading the Bob Stauffer tea leaves, as we all do. I like that hot take. I think it's well within the realm of possibility. They're going to go heavily with a top four, I think, this year of Ekholm and Bouchard and Nurse and Wallman. Now, if Ekholm isn't fully back to where he was, maybe Kulak works into that as opposed to Ekholm.
Got some options.
Ekholm's 35 this year, so we'll see what happens there.
Yep. Okay,
my last hot take, because my first one was actually related to Philp, that he would do well this year, is I think the Oilers, I think they're going to need a big, aggressive forward at the deadline. And someone mentioned Brian Rust from Pittsburgh. I think Evander Kane from Vancouver, if they're not in the running, would be a hell of a good idea if he's healthy and good to go. He's a hell of a playoff performer. And if Vancouver's not in the running, I'm not sure if his no trade clause is, I think it's still in effect. Now, there's still a lot of teams Vancouver could move him to, but it would have to be the right fit for any team with Kane. They'd have to be confident they could take him on and get the best out of him. Edmonton would know that.
Yep.
I think he'd be a great addition.
Yep, and I think Evander liked it here. I think that's intriguing. But a player like him, I think, would be a great deadline acquisition. I'm right with you.
But who else is like him? Like, this is the problem, right? Like,
yeah.
How many guys are like him? It's just hard to get that player. So if you could get him at the trade deadline, and it would have to be at his full salary, I think. I don't think they can eat salary because of, like, once you've traded him, if you get him back, I don't think you can have another team retain. But it would only be for the last month and last 6 weeks of the season. So they could hopefully afford that by then. And they will have injuries, and I think they'll be in a position to add at the cap at the deadline. What's your next? And this is your final hot take?
Next and final hot take.
Here we go.
Connor McDavid extension. 3 years, AVV $16 million.
The 3 is kind of hot, the 3 years, because that's at the low end of term that will stop people from freaking out. But I think 3 years is acceptable. Works for me. Hey, if he just wants to sign here another couple of years, works for me. So whatever he wants to sign. Why do you say this?
Because the cap is going to go up in future years, and he knows he's going to be able to make his money.
Yeah.
I would sooner have Connor McDavid on fewer years at a slightly lower salary than locking him up for 8 years at the maximum.
Completely
because
agree.
There are players like Darnell Nurse, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, Zach Hyman, who are still impact players today. But in 2 years from now, I'm not sure on 2 of the 3 or really any of the 3. The Oilers are in the Stanley Cup window now. Now's the time, if you're going to get Connor McDavid for a couple million cheaper, that you can have a real impact by doing so. Saving money down the line, I don't think matters. You're either going to win now or you're not going to win now. So I would take 3 years with a little less AAVV, knowing it's going to cost me going forward. So that's why I'm saying 3 and 16. I think Connor deserves anything that he gets. I won't hold it against him if he takes more. But I also think he's a pretty shrewd guy. And I think he understands the business of hockey pretty well. And I think he knows what a couple $1 million could mean to this team.
That's a pretty shrewd prediction, I'm going to say, Kurt. And, I'd like to see McDavid sign Draisaitl's contract for 3 years, $14 million a year.
Yep.
I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
So, because I think it would really make a difference for the Oilers to have even more money. But this is life. That makes sense to me, everything you say. Listen, if he signed for 8 years, it doesn't mean he's here 8 years. If he wants to be traded, he asks for a trade and he's traded. Yep. This is how it works anyway. So what does it matter? The 3 years, all the 3 years means is if he's going to stay in Edmonton, he can re-up for more money at the end of those 3 years. So he's positioning himself to do that. And
he already has a year left. So
it's just right? All about managing the cap. Would be signing for 3 years and managing, his future earning down the road, where he if the cap goes up enough, maybe he'd like to get paid more than $16 million a year.
And good on him.
$16 million, like, again, if he got the maximum, he earns it. If the Oilers could pay him $50 million a year, he's earned it. It's, so that'd be great. That means he's here the next 4 years. I'll take that. That'd be fantastic. Probably, unless he demanded a trade again. Like, he could demand a trade even if he signed a contract. The second he wants out of town, he asks for a trade and he's traded. It's how it works in the NHL now. So
the Toronto media would have a field day with it, but I would be fine with it.
Those idiots. Not all of them. Some of them are really smart, but some of those guys are just idiots.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be much of an in-between.
Morons.
A lot of respect for the really smart guys there. Yeah.
Kurt, let's leave it there before we lose our feed again. If you were following this on X, you didn't see this last part on X because I didn't boot it up, because I think that might be the problem. Is it's asking my internet system here to do a little bit too much. So we're going to stay off Twitter on the live part of this, and just keep doing it just on Riverside and see if we can get through a podcast without it crashing. Anyway, Kurt, thanks again for talking tonight.
Always a pleasure, Dave. Have a great night.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.